Welcome to the Courting Happiness podcast. This is a space where self-care becomes part of your day. A space where you learn evidence-based strategies to help your life, share it with those you love, and cultivate well-being at work. I'm your host, Dr. Kortni Alston. I'm a former news director, television reporter turned happiness scholar, TEDx speaker, and transformational trainer. I also understand hardships. While working my dream job in television, I lived a nightmare, suddenly becoming a young widow after 86 days of marriage. I became committed to learning more about resilience, healing, and happiness. This is how I discovered my area of research, which is positive psychology. Now I'm living my calling of training individuals and organizations on happiness. And my new chapter begins with being happily engaged. The Courting and Courting Happiness is about a true courtship. I like to say commitment with happiness. The K in courting stands for the vulnerability of sharing my story, inspirational interviews with phenomenal people, the infusion of positive psychology, and so much more. You'll learn how to commit to your well-being one episode at a time. I hope you subscribe and share. So, are you ready? Let's get started. Welcome to episode 94. I'm Dr. Kortni Alston. I am so happy that you're here. Thank you so much for listening. So every time I hear music, or better yet, my favorite song, well, I just want to dance. And I think back on when I was working on my PhD at the University of Florida, I have some real fond memories of moving furniture around in my very small little studio apartment and turning up the music to dance. And I was also respectful to my neighbors, so I would also turn up the music on my headphones and dance. And so I will admit this, though, that I'm more of an in-the-house dancer. But this article has me really reevaluating all of that. But I will say this, that dancing, it helped me move through stress. It helped me really kind of move through burnout. And it also helped me feel happier. Yes, of course, we're going to talk about all things happiness. It made me feel happier. And according to Kira Newman's article published for the Greater Good magazine, my dance moves increased my levels of happiness. You can read her article, The 4 Ways Dancing Makes You Happier, by going to drcourtneyalston.com/podcast/episode 94. So Newman discusses multiple studies. This one is actually focused in on a 2017 study by Julia F. Christensen and her colleagues, which shares that dancing is in our bones. They also shared how cave art shows how humans were dancing 70,000 years ago. And so what I love about the article is that it really allows us to have a greater insight as it relates to dancing and also to science when it comes down to how it will serve in regards to our happiness. So here are the 4 ways that making dancing a great practice can really help add a lot of great value to your well-being strategy. So here's number 1. Dance makes you feel good. I can certainly relate to that. In the article, Newman mentions a 2004 study, and it focuses on students who spent 90 minutes doing African dance, yoga, or listening to biology lecture. And researchers found something that might not be surprising and then might also kind of like have you think, wow, that's interesting. Researchers found that both yoga and dance help reduce stress, right? Which is understandably so. And then also reduce negative emotions. But this is the interesting dynamic, is that dance made out like such a powerful force because the power of dance increase student positive emotions. So it's such great value in regards to how dance can, make us feel good. Number 2, dance brings us closer together. And so dance, of course, encourages social closeness. Dance can connect us not just with other dancers, but also with our culture and our community. It's interesting because as I was going through this article, I started thinking about all these different experiences I've had with dance. Granted, I started off the podcast talking about how I dance a lot in the house, but I in high school I was actually part of part of the color guard that makes up the marching band, and I remember loving hearing the beat of the music, feeling the art of the live music, and just moving in step. And I felt so connected with the band and the community, when they would watch us in parades or during games. Now, this is the irony. The irony is that I often talk about my band experience. My fiance, Ken, hears me talk about it quite a bit. And it's interesting because I will watch YouTube videos with different marching bands, and I love it. I mean, I love seeing it, and I guess because it feels like it brings me back to that time of my life when I was a part of a marching band. Plus, I just love live music. I love bands, right? So this is the interesting part, is that my experience in the marching band in high school was just for 1 year. 1 year of my life, but it has stayed with me as if it was part of my entire life, right? And so it has really, really, really shaped so much in regards to how I see the band, how I feel about band, how I see when I'm looking at the color guard or dance lines. And I really believe it has so much to do with all those moves I would make with the members of the band as we're kind of keeping in step, and then showcasing the hard work that we had participated in terms of together. And but yeah, it's so interesting when I look back. I'm like, wow, I can recall. I believe it was only for 1 year. I don't even think it was 2 years, but it has stayed with me. And so I think that speaks to also the power of dance. Number 3, dance helps with depression. Newman shares that dance helps us with mental health. Now, she discusses in the article dance movement therapy and how clients use movement to observe patterns in themselves, act out challenges, and express emotion. Number 4 is dance helps us stay young. Helps us stay young. So in 2007, the study during that time, 60 elderly individuals from Brazil took ballroom dancing for a year. So took ballroom dancing for a year. This is interesting. These classes that had really a range from swing, waltz, even tango, which I was participating. This is really a great dance experience. What was so interesting is what researchers found by asking open-ended questions, really taking a qualitative approach. And they found that participants shared that dance improved balance, flexibility, made them feel playful and relaxed. And so all of this is, and when I look back on it, all of it speaks to me, right? Because, as a study focuses in on, elderly individuals living in Brazil and, the value of ballroom dancing and doing it for a year, which I just love that idea of doing that. And then also really being exposed to all of these different ranges in regards to, dances. I can certainly see how that can make you feel young, stay young, the movement, right? As I mentioned earlier, looking at band videos brings me back to that time of my life when I was in high school. And then every time when I was dealing with different stressors in my PhD program, especially during that time, because not only was I dealing with the rigors of the program and the demands of the program, but my mother was dying during that period. And actually, my mother passed away 3 weeks after I graduated from the PhD program. So, it was really, really a very stressful time for me. And I remember fondly, I remember moving furniture out the way, my little studio apartment, and just moving, being present with the music and just moving. So the next time you're feeling stuck, turn up the music and simply move. And I will say this, that I'm not the person at events that hits the dance floor. But this article has inspired me to join the crowd, build community, and increase my positive emotions with others step by step. And I hope it inspires you too. Remember, your well-being is your most important job, and I'm always here to help. Thank you so much for listening. Let's continue this conversation online. Email us at podcast@drkortnialston.com. That's podcast@drkortnialston.com. Join us on Instagram at Courting Happiness. Don't forget, that's courting with a K. Also, I hope you join our private Facebook community. You can find us at Courting Happiness Podcast Community. Our private Facebook group is a safe haven to share, meet more people looking to build positive relationships, focus on well-being, and create a happier life. Now, are you ready to spread happiness? We hope you subscribe and share this podcast with your family, friends, coworkers, and all the important people in your world. We release a new episode every Thursday. Congratulations on your continued commitment to your courting happiness journey. Thank you so much for listening. We want you to be well, be happier, and be kinder to yourself. We can't wait to see you next week.